Shut up and sit down.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Carlos Redlick and David Allen, and we got Everte Farnell here. This is Takeover Tuesday. We're going to be talking about business, copywriting, and a lot of cool stuff. So, hey, let's just dive right into it. Hey, you guys there?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep, I'm here.
Sweet. Hey, Everett, give us a quick little intro about yourself. I know you're a veteran in the game. You've really been doing a lot of stuff offline and online. Just give us a quick little bio.
Okay. Well, I actually came to direct marketing through Dan Kennedy, like so many others. I had a contracting company, and learned to convert my sales experience into writing copy, and we were able to really really blow the company up as far as sales. So I without getting into a too long and convoluted story, I ended up, my business partner and I went in separate directions. I started my own company. We wrote $1 million in 16 months. I started off, by the way, when I said we went our separate directions, I mean, I gave him my stock and walked away from the business because I didn't want to sign a non-compete. And so that was, started all over, wrote $1 million in 16 months. In late 2010, like August 2010, I bought a roofing company that was doing a couple $100,000 a year in business, and $200,000. It was plus or minus, but it had been about $200,000 for several years. In 2012, we did 1.94 million, and in early in 2013, through various turns of events that maybe we'll talk about, maybe we won't. I started writing copy full time for clients, and that's what I've been doing ever since. But I've been writing my own copy for almost 10 years now, and taking on clients. I've been taking on clients that whole time. Once people knew I could write, and that I was competent at it, then they were, right, begging me to write for them. Well, far be it from me to turn down a big paycheck. So okay, sure, I'll write your copy for you, no problem. Right. Although I will tell you, it's much easier to get high-paying clients when you have another business that you don't need the high-paying client. It's interesting how in 2013, when I had to start generating clients and I had to have clients, my fees had to come down substantially to at least start off with, and then and then we started back up the ladder from there. But right at first, I had to drop the fees substantially because it was. It was no more just extra money to go on vacation with. It was money I was using to fill the refrigerator. So,
right. Man, that's crazy. You're right, dude. Hey, what did you do? What was like the secret thing that made your business grow to that $1 million in 16 months?
Just hustled. We went out. What I did, actually, you know what? I used the same technique that I use to blow up the other business in sales. When I say blow up is always hard, because blow up, you mean blow up like demolished, or blow up like expanded very quickly? And what I mean is expanded very quickly.
Okay, yeah.
I call it my $100,000 letter. And I would call it the $100,000 letter because when I used it first time, it generated $100,000. We booked. Now understand, we're a contracting company, and we're doing work we're doing work with insurance companies. So it took 60 to 90 days to actually realize the profit. But we booked enough jobs to make an extra $100,000 in profit in 30 days when I used this letter. So that was a pretty substantial kick in the pants for the business, and it also put us. It completely put us onto another level. And it's just a letter to referral sources. So we were doing a very tight, very specific type of contracting. We went out and found other businesses that are in, that do business with us, with our customer, and then we sent them a letter, and we offered them a nice little vig if they'd refer to us. It's a 5-page letter. I would have written it a little differently. This was one of my first forays into really copywriting for myself. So it was one of the first things I actually wrote. So I would write it a little different today. There's different things that I would do, after close to 10 years of experience, but it worked.
Right.
The point being is that you don't have to be and especially if you have a local business. Now, if you're selling stuff online, then you got to be tight. You got to know what you're doing. But if you have a local business, you don't have to be, fucking Gary Halbert to get great results.
Right.
It was my first letter I wrote, and we made an extra $100,000 that month because of that letter. So basically what I did is I just went back to that letter and started the business all over again, only except instead of doing all the stuff that was kind of mediocre before I wrote that letter, I just based the whole business off that letter. So we sent the letter out, we started getting referrals, we started doing some other things that we had been doing in the past, and we just cranked it up and went out and hustled. I mean, it was just me at first. It took me a few
Right.
months to start generating enough cash flow to start hiring people. So it was me, myself, and I. It was, a lot of long days, 12, 16-hour days, but, that's what you do.
It's awesome that you said that, because I kind of have a similar story. I remember doing, I had a website business. I ended up, I'm like a silent investor, so I don't really do anything with it anymore. But I remember when we were really building it, we were doing a lot of cold calling and a lot of stuff like that. And then when I finally just wrote a direct mail letter out, I sent it out to a bunch of small towns in Florida. You're in Florida, right, Everett?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I sent to a bunch
from
of Lake
Ocala.
City, Sanders. Yeah, so I sent to a bunch of different little towns in Florida, and we were getting a 6% response. And I realized it was a one-page letter because I didn't have enough money to actually make it more. So I condensed it and made it one page. We got a 6% response, and I started realizing you don't necessarily, just like you said, you don't have to be like the best copywriter in the world, especially in a local market. You just kind of have to be better than the other guy in your town, because most of them aren't even doing that. And if they are, it's just like a big business card. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is that it really is these guys. I mean, I've oftentimes said that if I could find an efficient way to get into local markets, that that for a copywriter's point of view, if you could find an efficient way to get into local markets and a way to fix your client's cycle, in their head when you started,
Right.
that you could become a billionaire, not a millionaire, billionaire, just by going to local business and saying, look, I'll write your marketing funnel for you. All you got to do is use it, and and then expand it as quickly as you can expand it, and I get X percentage of the profit off everything that comes from the work that I do. And I mean, you could make millions of dollars a year. The problem is, of course, the psychological problems that the business owners have, like, oh my God, I'm making too much money, this must be something unethical, and the yeah, right. Oh my God. Okay, I wouldn't want to make that. I wouldn't want to live in a house that big. Could you imagine the electric bill? Okay, sure, pal. Whatever.
Quality problems.
Yeah, right. I mean, I learned that when I was a kid. I was working at I was a kid. I was in my 20s, but basically I was a kid. I was running around. I was running around chasing skirts and drinking too much and just doing kid stuff, But I was working at this little direct mail house, and just selling, manual labor, cold calling people and closing them. And but the direct mail house, the owner of the direct mail house, was tied in very closely with a guy who you guys probably don't remember this, but many years ago, Domino's Pizza had a real problem with the IRS. It was a relatively publicized problem, and I mean, the IRS was getting ready to come down on them hard, and they had to sell a bunch of stores off very quickly in order to. Sorry about that. That's my alarm telling me that I'm 9 minutes late for our meeting. Anyway, they were having a problem, and the IRS was getting ready to come down on them, so they had to sell a bunch of their stores. So they sold 20-some stores to one guy here at the time I was living in the Tampa area, about an hour south of where I am now. And so they sold all these stores off to this guy. And within a year or so, the guy he took all the money from the stores to pay off his investors, because he had to go borrow the money. And so he went to pay off his investors, and he went from, within like a 24-month period, he went from broke trying to be a network marketing guy to being a multimillionaire. And so he said to the, which points out that everybody's problem is an opportunity somewhere, right? You say, well, he took advantage of Domino's because he bought a bunch of franchises at a cheap price. And Domino's is saying, yeah, but I was able to use his money along with some other people's money to pay off the IRS, and it kept them from putting a boot on our neck. So we were happy to sell. But everybody's problem somewhere is an opportunity for somebody. So, but anyway, the guy who owned the Domino's Pizza also made an investment into this small print and direct mail house that I was working at, and of course we did all his direct mail and everything. And so, but I heard him talking to the owner of the print and direct mail house one time, and he said, John, things are different when you have money. So it was just a couple of years ago. I didn't have any money. I was like worried about paying my electric bill. He said, I still have concerns, and I might even have more concerns today, more worries about money today. But those worries, though they're more, are not nearly, it's not like worrying about how you're going to eat. So it's like, okay, everything's going to be okay. No worry, but I have these concerns I got to deal with, as opposed to how am I going to pay the electric bill tomorrow because they're going to come shut it off if I don't get in there by 8 a.m. And he said it's a whole different world. It's not even close. So, all the more money, more problems. Yes, that's true, but different problems, and the problems aren't nearly as pressing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. Money solves problems that not having money creates. I think Kennedy said that. I don't know. I might be quoting it wrong, but that's exactly, I think, what you're saying, and that really hits home. I mean, I remember not having any money and then being like, oh, shit, and it's literally not, I need to make a sale because I just want to meet my, quota or whatever. I need to make a sale because I got to eat, So you're right. I mean, two different types of thinking. I kind of wanted to go back because I know you write copy for other people now, but you've definitely built up your own businesses and really done it on your own, which obviously just gives a lot of credential to you. So, I mean, the fact that you've done that, I think is probably, I mean, I'm guessing, but it's probably something that differentiated yourself when you were kind of first starting out, at least writing for other people. But what did you do? I mean, did you do local copywriting when you started out? How did you first start, getting your clients, or what did you do specifically?
The way I've gotten clients since the beginning was just by networking and getting to know people. I've tried mailing stuff out. I've tried, you name it, I've tried it. I've tried running ads. I've tried doing direct mail to businesses, and none of it ever works. It's all horrible positioning. As a matter of fact, I oftentimes say if there is a God, he has a hell of a sense of humor, because the only thing you can't sell with direct response marketing is direct response advertising, or direct response copywriting, right? I mean, it's if there's one thing in the world, people say, well, my business is different, and we all make fun of them because we want to help people understand that business is business ultimately. But if there's one thing that really is true, and it's it's a horrible truth, is that cold direct mail for copywriting services it by its nature, it cannot be profitable. Now direct mail to your list, you build a list of people who listen to you and then direct mail to that list can be very profitable. So, but cold direct mail, people are not going to pay the kind of fees necessary to make it a profitable venture. In other words, people don't understand the value of direct response copywriting unless they're already involved somehow in the direct response world, and then they understand the value of direct response copywriting. But then you're not doing cold direct mail; you're doing direct mail to a very qualified list. So it's kind of a joke, but the question was, how do I get my clients? A vast majority of my clients I get is just by networking and referral. I have a little email list that I started building recently. I was the Glazier Kennedy guy in Tampa for a while. I've been in some mastermind groups and that kind of thing. And, you just get to know people and they say, oh yeah, you write copy? Yeah, I write copy. Okay, good. And, I got some projects. Would you mind taken a look at it. And so, social networking has made it so much easier to do that the last few years. I mean, being able to really network with people on, on Facebook, for example, has made that so much easier. On the other hand, it's also open. It used to be you were in a mastermind group, and I was the only copywriter in real copywriter. I mean, there were people who wrote copy, but I was the only copywriter in the group. Now,
right?
It seems like you can't throw a rock without hitting a copywriter online. There's, they're fucking everywhere.
Yeah, Everett, I got a question. When you started writing for your own businesses, and that you said it wasn't perfect, and you were sort of just getting into it, did you go back and study the so-called masters, the Halberts, the Carltons, those people, or were you already introduced to those people at that point?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because you say the Halberts and the Carltons. I mean, Halbert was a master. He was, he had a legitimate claim, and Carlton is extremely good. I've studied his stuff. I love his. I don't want to give you the wrong idea. But when I think of the old masters, I'm thinking of Robert Collier, Caples, Ogilvy. These guys who have been dead for 50 years. So that's the old man. I guess that's a difference. I don't know how old you are, but according to your picture here, you look like a relatively young guy. I guess that's the difference between old is that. I remember when Gary Halbert was alive, and you could go see him in a seminar. And,
right. I think it's because I got into copywriting later too. So he was already dead when I got into it. So that's my perspective.
Yeah. So it's amusing. That's all. But yeah, absolutely. I started studying those guys, and started studying them more after, like you said, after I started writing. My real strength in copywriting came from spending 20 years selling stuff to people. So, I came from a sales background where I'd go into, Mr. and Mrs. Lipschitz' house and sit at their kitchen table and close them on a $40,000 sunroom. That's how I learned to sell, or that's how I learned to write copy. What I did is I took those skills and translated them over to copywriting. So I'm sorry, Carlos, I think I cut you off there, but the internet connection sometimes.
Yeah, that's how it's done, son. That's all. I just walk in, sit at the kitchen table, and close these motherfuckers for $40,000. That's how it's done, son. So
yeah.
No, well, so what did you do? Because you said you had to mention, and the reason I'm talking a little bit about copywriting is because I've actually had a lot of people who are saying now that they want to start watching or listening to the podcast that are actually upcoming copywriters. So a lot of these questions are some that they had asked me to ask you, and one of was how do you differentiate yourself as a copywriter if you're starting out? So I know just like myself, I started selling. I don't know. I went super cheap. I think when I started, I was selling like $100 sales letters. It was ridiculous, but it's basically what I started doing to get testimonials. And then I just increased my prices. But what did you do if there was anything specific?
Well, I was getting, I was having people come ask me for copy gigs before I started writing copy for other people, really. And the reason was because and I'll tell you one of the biggest things is find a place and make yourself a star in that place. So at the time I found the Glazier Kennedy world, and I made myself a star in the Glazier Kennedy world. So you can go into some of Dan's published books, and there's a book around here about trust-based sales where you guys know who Dan Kennedy is, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yes. So, I'm
not that young.
Listen, some people don't, right? So he's most people in the direct marketing game know who he is, but some people don't. So I just want to make sure. But but there's a quote in one of his books, Trust Based Marketing, where he says, Everett is a highly skilled direct response copywriter. Well, nice. I didn't pay him to write that, by the way. He just wrote it.
Yeah.
He just put it in there. Well, that quote has gotten me more. That's got me tens of thousands of dollars worth of gigs. He's used my stuff in his newsletters. He's used my stuff, and look over my shoulder. So, the trick is to find a place where you're find a place and make yourself somebody in that place. Now, a place could be geography. We could be talking about a local business. So, look, if you're just starting off in copywriting, some of the stuff that the masters wrote, and then, go find some local businesses to write for. I mean, you ain't gonna do any worse than those morons are doing. You know what I mean? There's like 1 in 10,000 who knows how to write copy, and to any extent. And if you happen to find a guy who does know how to write a little bit of copy, listen to what he has to say. He might teach you something, right?
Right. Yeah, we talk a lot. We talk a lot about that on this show, actually. About two things you brought up so far, which is you sort of took action first, and then sort of figured it out as you went, which we both sort of are big proponents of, Carlos and I. And and the second thing, what the hell was the second thing? I forgot now. But that's big.
Find a mentor.
Yeah, find a mentor. That's what it is. Find a mentor. And so those are two big things that we've always talked about on this show so far. And well, you're living proof.
Well, and I'll tell you what. I'll tell you another way of doing it. And if you just love to write copy, right? So I really like helping businesses. That's my deal. That's what I get a jazz from. So I copy is a means to an end for me. It's not an art form. It's not. It's I like. I'm kind of a an over the top crazy capitalist. I think that every now and again, all the business owners in the world have to tell the government and have to tell the protesters and have to tell academia, sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up and let us fix everything, and then you guys can come screw it up again. Because you guys have messed everything up horribly. So I like helping local businesses, and they're tough to help because it's kind of like nailing Jello to the wall sometimes, but you got to give it a go. But that said, if you just love copy as an art form, and I know some people who did. As a matter of fact, I mentored a young man who did and has done extraordinarily well. I gave him his first copy job, as a matter of fact, back when I was running the Tampa IBA for Glazier Kennedy. But if you just love copy, then what I would recommend is go get a job at one of the direct response copywriting publishers, one of the direct response publishers, newsletter, health publishers, that kind of thing. Move to Baltimore or move to Delray Beach, Florida, and go get a gig at Weiss Publishing or one of the Agora branches or whatever. Go get a gig there and work there for a year or maybe even 2 years, and you're going to make shit money for a copywriter. I mean, decent money for somebody who doesn't have an education. 40,000-50,000 a year plus royalties normally, maybe less, maybe a little more depending on your experience. But even if it's 30,000 a year plus royalties, you can still turn that into 70 or 80,000 a year if you really get serious about it, and work there for a couple of years and then start taking on freelance clients. So the young man who I mentored, he was very young when I started. At 18, I started mentoring him before he was 18. At 18, he got a job with an Agora affiliate. Not affiliated,
branch.
Agora has branch. Thank you. That's exactly what I was saying. And then he moved to a different publisher, and then he went freelance. And last year, he made several $100,000. He doesn't have a high school diploma. He's in his early 20s. Last year, he made several $100,000. This year, by the end of the year, he will have made a little bit less, but he will have worked a lot less. And he just got a contract for a 6-figure retainer plus a very, very healthy royalty and bonus structure from somebody as a freelancer. So it's an exclusive contract, but he's not working as an employee; he's working as a freelancer. So my point being is, if you're into copywriting as an art form, some people just love it, then I would recommend that route. If it's not an art form to you, it's not something that you really love, then just go start talking to local business owners. Go to the local thing and go stand up in front of them and tell them how what brilliant copy looks like, and put yourself together a little speech and go out and teach them how to write, teach them how to do marketing, and then there's going to be a handful of them who say, I want to know more, and then out of that handful that says, I want to know more, there's going to be a few who hire you, and before you know it, you'll have a little local practice, and then you can build on that.
Awesome tips.
Yeah, I know we got to close up real quick, but I want to ask you one other last question. Who would you want to have with, dead or alive, and why?
Do I have to pick one?
Yes,
no?
one.
Geez, that's like saying, what's the one secret to success? I don't know. There's like a whole bunch of, what's the one secret to become an overnight success? Well, work for 20 years towards it. That's the secret. I don't know. Is
there somebody though, Everett, that maybe he's not like the top person in your mind, but somebody you were really like for me, it was Gary Halbert. I was super fascinated with Gary Halbert, and I think that's what got me into copywriting. I didn't maybe consider him the best per se, but I thought I really connected with him.
Are we talking about marketing only, or are we talking about just in general?
No, anybody really, if you want.
Geez, that's such a big question. I mean, there's a whole score of people. Really who I would sit down with, who I would sit down with, to have dinner with, if I had the opportunity, would be my father. He died when I was 5 years old, and that has nothing to do with business, nothing to do with marketing, but that's who I'd have dinner with.
It's funny you mention that, because I thought that's who you were going to say for some reason. I don't know.
Well, you're a psychic, aren't you?
Not really. I'm a magician. But that's weird, because I was thinking that in my head just before you said that. I was like, if he's not going to say a marketer, he's going to say his father, and that's great because you didn't get much time, virtually no time.
Yeah. He. How do you know that, by the way?
No, I didn't, but I just.
What are you, cyber stalking me?
No, you said it. You were 5.
Yeah, I'm just razzing you. I'm just giving you a hard time.
But no, I think that's important because you couldn't form that relationship. You wish you had more time.
So, if we were going to do just about marketing, I think it'd probably be Robert Coyer. So maybe that's a more relevant answer to the folks who are listening. It would be Robert Coyer who I'd sit down with. Just strictly about marketing. He was a direct mail god back in his day. He sold everything. As a matter of fact, are you familiar with the Great Courses, the direct business, the direct marketing business, the Great Courses? They sell DVDs and everything.
I don't think so. I'm familiar with his letter book, of course.
Right. Well, there's a modern day business called the Great Courses, and it's a online and now direct mail too reproduction of Robert Coyer's business of the books that he sold back in the day. So they sell DVDs and all kinds of stuff, but it's fantastic stuff. Look it up, the Great Courses. It has great stuff on it, but it's also just a rehash of one of Robert Coyer's old businesses. But he sold everything from I think it's called Coal Coke, so not cocaine, Coal Coke, which is it's something that they use to burn. It has some industrial application, I don't know, but it's like this industrial shit. And he sold that by direct mail with letters. Sold coats, sold books, sold handbags, sold. I mean, you name it, he sold it with direct mail. He was just a direct marketing god. So I'd love to sit down and talk with him in relation to marketing specifically.
Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Hey, dude.
Can we? Let's touch on one more thing, because something you said earlier, I wrote down here or typed down. You said that when you first started going strictly into getting copywriting clients, you had to reduce your fees dramatically because it wasn't coming the same. The funnel of directing people to you wasn't the same as when you were writing for your own businesses and so forth, or working perhaps with the Glacier Kennedy people. What do you think? So nowadays, how has that changed? Like, at what point did you start to just made a name for yourself, and then you started to up your fees?
Yeah, well, I just started working, doing basically the same thing, but started being a little more known. Let me explain a little bit why. The reason I had to drop my fees is because I was in need of cash flow. So when I told you I built a roofing company from 200 to 1.94 million, and that happened, from August of 2010. I bought it at 200,000, and we did 1.94 million in 2012. So early 2013, I actually sold it back to the business partner. So I didn't buy 100% of the company. I bought into the company because in Florida, there's all kinds of licensing requirements and it's fucking ridiculous. I mean, you gotta, they're up your ass with a microscope to become a contractor. So I had to, I had to still have this guy's license. So I didn't buy the company out completely. And he wasn't ready to retire, but he did see that he did get the idea that I could build the company quickly and it would be worth more. So I was done with it. I was, we had employee problems and all kinds of stuff. I tell people, look, if you want to drive sales fast, I'm the guy to talk to. If you want to, if you want to make a lot of money quickly as far as sales go, I'm the guy to talk to. If you want to talk about building, team building and hiring employees and all that kind of shit, don't talk to me. I don't know, right? I tried it. I fucked it up badly. Employee problems. I had 25 of the little things running around. They're like children, except I love my children and I not them, right? So anyway.
Well, I think you brought up an important point too, which is what jogged my memory. Was you said that you had having something better to do, where it wasn't like you had the companies as your source of income and to write copy on the side. You didn't need to have clients at that point, so you got much better clients, I guess.
That's exactly what I was getting to. Was what happened was when I sold the company, the guy crashed it in about 6 weeks. Completely crashed it. Was beyond bond trying to save. It was gone. And he took his license and opened up another company and just let this one go. So I never got the money that I was supposed to get for the sale. So I went from from making several $100,000 a year to making zero in like 6 weeks. So I had to, I had to hustle up some money. I had to generate some income. And so I had to drop my prices in order to do that. But once I got, back a little more known and got, started making connections and that kind of thing, now the prices have gone back up to where they really should be, or at least, getting close. But when, at the end of the year, I probably made either less by lowering my prices. I either made less or about the same as I would have with the higher prices, but I needed cash flow. Right. So I needed to get some cash flowing, moving. But yeah, that's the trick is if you have cash flow, if you have something that's, that's throwing off some money for you and paying some bills, then you become a much, 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 you're in a much better position from a copywriting point of view. You can do the smart things today that will yield very high copywriting gigs and yield them much faster than if you're saying, okay, well, this is great, but now I got to pay my bills. So I got to, I've got to take what I can take. Well, that's, that's a horrible place to be in to start off in this game. So yeah, if you have something else to pay your bills with while you're building your which was the plan, by the way, that was the plan was, okay, I've got a monthly income from selling this roofing company. Now I'm going to go build a consulting business. And so yeah, if you can work that out, that's a great place to be coming from.
Cool, man. Well,
no, I'm just gonna. Before closing it up, I just wanted to agree with you 100%. The way I started building, what I realized, how I built my copy business, is exactly what you said was networking, because I tried doing a few ads as well and I didn't get any responses. And in fact, I was even called desperate because I was trying to get business. So I totally resonate with what you're talking about. But one of the things that I did is I joined a few groups, Cult of Copy and a few others and whatnot, and either participated in that or added pretty much everybody who would like my stuff. I would just add them as friends and I wouldn't pitch them. I just say, hey man, just appreciating the connection, not trying to pitch you. Well, at first I used to try and pitch them, then that obviously didn't work, and I changed it to sort of appreciation. But then I just said, hey man, not trying to pitch you, just looking to connect with other like-minded people, and that was it. And then all I do now every day is put out content that positions me as a copywriter or shows that I actually know what I'm talking about. And just by doing that, I've been able to get clients who are making 8-9 figures in their companies. And they're actually contacting me to work with them. And it's all because of joining groups where the people actually are. I mean, I was blown away with people I'm 28. There's like 24-year-olds hiring me, and they're making like a fuckload of money. And I'm like, good God, this is the best group ever, So there's so much money out there. If you do what Everett's saying, it's gonna really help out.
Well, you did exactly what I said. Is you found a place and you made yourself somebody there. And I've had those clients where you find out, you get a little taste of how much business they're doing, how much money they're making, and you want to take a baseball bat and beat you over the head with it, saying, I'm not making enough goddamn money. What the hell's wrong with me? That just wait. You're talking about a 24-year-old versus 28. Just wait till it's a 24-year-old versus 43, and you're like, are you fucking kidding me? This kid was, my God. It's and besides, who would say no to you, Carlos? Look at that. I mean, all you got to do is lay that Cuban smile on him, man. I mean, you're in good shape. You look good. Between you and your girl, it's like my, I mean, all I got to do if I'm feeling shitty, I just got to look up you or your girl, and it's always a big smile. Hey, how you doing? I'm like, God, how are these people so cheery all the time? I mean, are they, the fuck's he doing? Is he sell meth or something? I mean, they're back there doing some meth and then making a video or something. Because man, I've never seen people so.
If Carlos could bottle Carlos needs to bottle and get a sales letter for what he's on.
I'm telling you what, I don't know, but it's like
it's funny. I used to write myself sales letters whenever I wanted to get in shape or make more money when I was younger and shit. I used to practice copywriting and self-help to myself by writing myself a sales letter, and I would be like, "Hey, dear Carlos, you're a fat fuck. How do I know this? The answer is simple. You see, and I would just go into some random and I would sell myself a program, and I would and if I could only afford $5 or $10, I would obviously fit in my budget, and then I would take the money, pay myself, put it away, and then I would get that $5 or $10 until I hit the goals in the sales letter. So it's cool shit, man. Cool shit.
Awesome, guys.
Hey, I'll let David wrap it up because I know he's way better than I am at that stuff. I'll just kind of keep talking or something. I don't know. But hey, dude, thanks so much for hopping on this show. I learned a lot, and I know a lot of other people will too.
Oh, no problem. I had a great time. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Everett. We're definitely going to have you on again at some point because you have a wealth of knowledge and we're only able to dive into it in half-an-hour increments. But thanks for coming on, and everyone listening, send your questions to facebook.com/Takeover Tuesday podcast.
And one more thing, if y'all don't mind.
Where can people contact you?
Yeah, I was gonna say don't
just about to hop in. Say.
No, I was gonna ask you that last.
Okay. Listen, I have a 17 installment course that Dan Kennedy and I wrote that people can get for free if they go to 100%. So percent is spelled out 100% businessgrowth.com. The number 100% businessgrowth.com, and then they just sign up and they can get the 17 installments of the course. It's like I said, it's a course that Dan Kennedy and I put together. It's it's a good course. People should find some value in there.
Yeah, well, I'm on that on the listing.
Sign up.
Yeah, I'll be signing up for that later. That's great, Everett, and we'll include that on the when we release the podcast tomorrow. We'll include that as part of the thing. Thank you so much, Carlos. Always a pleasure, of course. We'll see everybody next Tuesday on the Takeover Tuesday podcast. Also like to thank Ben Sound at bensound.com for the intro and outro music. Have a good day.
Ciao, guys.